Hello, Renee. Hello. Welcome to our little Wednesday evening self-love club. Hello, thank you for joining. Hello. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for our self-love club. I am Evie. I am the sex educator at Shush. So today we're going to talk about all things masturbation, particularly masturbation for people who are vulva owners, because that is my area of expertise. But some questions about masturbation in general as well, and sort of how to get yourself in the mood, how to look after yourself during this time. Because I don't know about anyone else, but I have definitely found that it's really, the self-care thing has been really difficult being locked down, and I find that I'm a really social person, and I get loads of my energy from seeing people and being told nice things by friends and telling my friends nice things and working. I get a lot of my fulfillment from that, so I think being stuck at home has really put me in a bit of a funny spiral of not being connected with my body, not feeling the same. Got some agreement here. Excellent. Well, not excellent. It's difficult, isn't it? So I think it's really difficult to sort of feel that same fulfillment when everything is up in the air for us, and also like feeling. I think there's a lot of pressure at the moment to be improving ourselves and to be learning French and getting a six-pack and having amazing sex because we're locked down with our partners. But actually we're all super anxious and worried about things, and we're living through a pandemic. So I think it is the perfect time to be really kind to ourselves. So I hope that this little session, this little Q&A session allows you to do that a little bit more for yourself, and me as well. I'm not very good at it. It's an ongoing practice, so I hope this will help you do it. Hello to those just joining. Thank you so much for coming along. So we've had lots of questions that have been written in, and I'm going to work my way through them. A couple of these I've only just got, so I've written some very speedy notes down, and of course all of this stuff, all of my advice, it will not be exhaustive. Please feel free to add stuff in if you have any other ideas as well. Also as well, please feel free to ask questions too. We love to get more questions. I will stick with the ones that I've got so I can answer them. But so I can answer them kind of in order, but if I have time at the end, I will make sure I get back to them. If I don't have time at the end, I will make sure we find you. That sounded a bit threatening, not in a threatening way. We will find you and DM you and answer your question, because we cannot leave anyone's question unanswered at Shush. So yes, thank you so much for joining us. Before I get started on the questions, I just wanted to tell everyone that we're doing a Q&A with the Anti-Diet Riot Club on Friday at 6:30, and I'm so excited about that. I think it's going to be another great thing out of our self-love week. Hello Afra, I'm very well, thank you. How are you? So I just wanted to tell people that before I get started, because I think that's going to be such an amazing event, and again is something that I think we're all dealing with at the moment, of that pressure to be like working out and eating only cucumbers. But actually we sort of need to take that pressure off ourselves. So I'm going to be chatting with Becky from the Anti-Diet Riot Club all about that on Friday, so I really hope you can come and join us. Also, I'm going to talk about lots of toy stays as I go through these questions. I just want to remind you that the code for the Shush Women's Store shop is virtual, so if anything comes up that you want to buy, and there are lots of fun things, I promise you, then the code is virtual. Hello. So I'm going to kick us off with our first question. So the first question is, I have never masturbated before. I grew up thinking it was shameful and not something girls should do. I'm not used to taking time out to spend on myself. I'm usually so busy, but now I have lots more time on my hands, and I am curious, where do I start? So I thought this was such a brilliant question. I mean, they're all really wonderful questions, but I really identified with this question. If I remember when I was growing up, hearing men and boys laugh and joke about masturbation in this way that was just completely for them, and it was their territory, and it was not for girls at all. It was not for anyone else but men to be able to talk about openly and joke about. It was just something that men did. And so I've always struggled with that, and working in sex education has been my liberation for that. So I really do feel you with that shame. Like, growing up feeling shameful about masturbation really takes part of that pleasure away from you, and masturbation is the most amazing thing, isn't it? We get to explore our own pleasure, and I spend so much of my work at Shush and my classes talking about how the more you get to know your own body, the more you masturbate and enjoy your own self-pleasure, the more partnered sex will be fun. Or maybe not partnered sex, maybe sex with 5 people, however many. But the more you get to know yourself, the better it will be. This is a really shameful self-promotion here, but I actually worked on a music video called Hand Solo, which is by the brilliant Marika Hackman, and you'll see my hand in it, and it's all about changing the stigma of female masturbation and talking about that, and I think it's a really empowering song to listen to, and you'll also see my hand feeling cake and things. But I do think sort of hearing artists talk about female masturbation and following really sex positive Instagram accounts will also really, really help that, like, rid the shame away, because we do not need to be feeling it. So try to immerse yourself as much as possible, surround yourself with people who are talking about masturbation, and it is a sex positive world. That would be my first tip. Secondly, in terms of... someone's seen Han Solo. Thank you so much. I did the movement direction for that music video, but I tried to get them to call me Master Masturbator, but they didn't let me. There we go. But then my other tips would be to sort of really practically is get to know yourself. Have a look at yourself in the mirror. It is amazing how few people have actually looked at themselves. And if you have a vulva, your anatomy is much, much more hidden than a penis. So it's really important to have a look and see what you're dealing with. And I promise you, whatever there is there, it is completely normal. Oh, I've got with me, the Great Wall of Vagina. So I don't know if you can see that at all. So... the Great Wall of Vagina, have a little Google of it, if you couldn't see that very clearly, is a wonderful piece of art. And what it shows you is that all vulvas are completely different, and they are all normal. All of the different shapes and sizes, some of them have slightly longer labia lips, some of them slightly smaller, and they will be, and they all are completely normal. So it's really great to look at the Great Wall of Vagina, and you can see all these different ones. So if you look down, you look in a mirror at your vulva, do not be alarmed. It is a normal vulva, and it is a wonderful, beautiful vulva. And it might be a liberating thing to see as well. If you're feeling really brave, then masturbate in front of a mirror as well. What this does is it allows you to see these like physiological changes that are happening to your body as you receive pleasure. And as I said before, the more you get to know your body, the more exciting your pleasure can be. Someone has asked how I make my own cast. Do you sell a kit? So we do indeed sell Mold Your Own Pussy kits. So with the Mold Your Own Pussy kits, I think it's just called Mold a Pussy. I've tried it. It is really difficult. Well, it's actually quite easy. I was quite stupid and I left it in the plaster in the mould for so long before putting it on that it dried up. Clone a pussy. Thank you so much, Lauren. I should mention Lauren is assisting me wonderfully today, so she's just going to take a note of questions and things and add different things in, and the wonderful Renee also assisting me. And someone has mentioned the Vagina Museum. Absolutely, is another amazing resource that we are lucky enough to have. Have a look at their Instagram. And if you can, when this is all over, go and see their museum. It is the only vagina museum in the world. And as I said, it's just great to immerse yourself in that world without any shame, in like completely positive and wonderful narrative around it, I suppose is what I'm saying. So my advice specifically about like sort of starting to get to know your body is, yeah, take time to play in different ways. Don't just sort of like put loads of pressure on yourself, like, oh, okay, so I'm going to feel this thing, I'm going to feel that part of the labia lip, and oh, okay, that felt great, I'm going to stay there, I'm going to wait until I orgasm. I'm actually going to show you, oh no. And once you're at that point, it can mean that you're going to chase away the orgasm. You're so focused on the orgasm that you can end up chasing it away. So really play around with the vulva and play around with the rest of the body as well, sort of focusing on different areas of pleasure. If you focus on too much on one area, it's too target fixated, it will chase it away. So really play around with the different ways your body reacts. How do you react if you start playing with your nipples as well as your clitoris? Like mixing it up and trying different things will really help you to get to know your body, and giving yourself the time to do that as well. It's so difficult to become aroused, to have an orgasm, if our brains are distracted, if we're like, oh my god, I left all of my clothes in the washing machine and now they're going to go all musty. If your brain is going and thinking about those things, or thinking about the flatmate down the hall or something, it will be really difficult to relax and get to know yourself and get to know your own pleasure. So the more you can just sort of focus on yourself, the more you can delete any distractions, the better. It can also help to read a bit of erotica or watch a bit of porn. That can be really helpful, just to sort of distract your brain a little bit and not be thinking about those distractions. Can help a little bit. So I hope that was helpful for the first question. I also would like to mention maybe a couple of toys that are really good starters. So lots of people have started with a bullet. I think a bullet is a really, really great place to start, because you can just really, really play around. You can even play with your inner thighs, and then sort of play around your vulva like that. Play underneath the vulva lips. Don't go straight for the clitoris, but really, really play and tease yourself, and really take the time to get to know how each part of the body reacts. And why bullets are useful for that is they just pinpoint pleasure in that way. This is a little lipstick bullet, little silver lipstick bullet. It's very, very cute, and it's quite quiet as well. So it's a good one to start with. It's also USB rechargeable, so you can charge it on the train, wherever you like. Cool, so I'm going to move on to question 2 now. As I said before as well, if anyone has any other tips, please feel free to add in. We're going to add everything up together and sort of talk about it. And also, if you have any other questions, I'll try and get around to them at the end as well. So question 2 is from a 26-year-old female. I love taking long baths as a form of self-care, but I've never used a sex toy in the bath or shower for that matter. What are the best toys, and is it different? How do you do it? Really cool question. There are a few toys that I would recommend for in the bath. One of them I don't have with me, but we will add it to the stories, and is the waterproof rabbit. It's a really, really fun toy. I don't, because I had to grab lots of stuff as I was on my way out of London. I haven't packed all of the sex toys I need, so from Shush I have 2 huge boxes of sex toys being posted towards my parents' house. So next Q&A will have lots of different toys, which is very exciting. But so the waterproof rabbit, and we will add it into the stories, is a really great waterproof toy. There is also, and I have banged on about this a lot in these Q&As, this is the Satisfier Pro 2. Now the Satisfier is absolutely brilliant. It is an incredibly quick toy. It's quite noisy, but oh my god, it's worth it. I could write love letters to this toy. I'll show you how noisy it is. Oh, it's okay. This one is okay actually. But that was on its lowest setting. But it is such an amazing experience, and it is so intense, but in a really great way. Why it is so intense but so brilliant is because it isn't directly touching the clitoris, so it isn't overpowering those nerve endings. You pop it on the clitoris and it is sucking air around the clitoris, so it's not vibrating on the clitoris, it's sucking air around it, so it can be really, really fun, but not too overpowering. This is a completely waterproof toy and is excellent to use in the bath. And I'd also, my other tip would be sort of non-vibrating toys as well. I talk a lot about glass toys. In fact, this is the world's most amazing combination, a glass toy and a suction toy. And glass toys are amazing because they are so great for the G-spot. The G-spot loves firmer textures, so you can do a kind of juicing motion on your G-spot like that. So if I pop this in, I would juice towards the belly button, about 2 to 3 centimetres up the vaginal canal. Obviously changes for different people, all of our anatomy is slightly different, but a kind of juicing motion. And the G-spot loves glass, loves stone and metal and things like that, just these firmer textures. And of course this is completely bath compatible because there are no electronics in it at all, and you will find that it has, as you put it in the warm water, it will warm up as well a little bit, and it'll take on the heat of the water. My only warning with bath sexy times, and please feel free to do it, it is perfectly safe. Just be aware that if you are at all susceptible to like infections, then sometimes you can make it a little bit worse with playing in the bath. So it's definitely not something to do like whilst you're having an infection or something like that. Just be a little bit mindful of that. And it can be a little bit tricky lube-wise, because actually water, bizarrely, kind of makes things less lubricated. So it's sort of, for some people that means that it can feel a bit rough. So it's just about experimenting with yourself. Some people absolutely love that slightly rougher texture, but for some people it's a little bit much. So it can feel a little bit more intense, but have a play around with it. You could find that maybe you could play in the shower, and because you have a little bit more flexibility of which bits of you are in the shower and which bits of you aren't, then you could maybe add in a little bit of lube as well. Possibly. As I say, if anyone else has any thoughts, please feel free to add them in. I'm very, very welcome. So we have number 3. I am a single mum to 2 kids, and they are now home 24/7. I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I need some self-love, me time. Do you have any tips to help me unwind and get me in the mood when the kids have gone to bed? Wine helps, but I'll give you other suggestions too. Porn and erotica is wonderful. It's a brilliant resource. I'm not remotely into porn shaming at all. Porn is a wonderful resource. There is some porn that is ethical, some that is not so ethical, and so it's about finding the right porn. Try and pay for your porn if you can. And we've just had a wonderful tip from the last question. The shower jet is useful. Very true. Very, very true. Great shout. And so with porn, it's about finding the porn that you like, but it is a really quick way, if you find the right porn for you, to get you in the mood. So it can be a really, really quick way to do that. I also sort of thought that I talk a lot about how I think spontaneous sex and spontaneous masturbation is a bit overrated. I actually think planning stuff is brilliant, because what it does is it helps you to, your imagination starts whirring. You think about, okay, so I've decided tonight this thing's going to happen. So you could plan like, oh, tonight I'm going to play with that toy that I love, and I'm gonna have a bath and then do that thing and watch that kind of porn. If you've planned that, then during your day, just occasionally your brain will flip to that, and that will start your sort of sexual juices going. It will start, the brain is the hardest thing, is the hardest erogenous zone to kick into gear, and we need our brain to be in line with our genitals in order to feel aroused. So if you sort of start kind of introducing it to yourself earlier on, then you can sort of think about it and get juiced up. And it also helps the erectile cylinders within your genitals. So the clitoris, that's an erectile cylinder, and also the G-spot is erectile cylinders as well, and it helps bring blood to that area if you're sort of thinking about it and getting a little bit worked up during the day. Once the brilliant Lola Jean, follow her if you are not already on Instagram, once described it as, with those erectile cylinder, it's you've got to wait for the bouncy castle to be filled up before you go and play on it, and I really love that. So it's all about timing with those erectile cylinders, so giving the time for them to have filled up with blood, which I really love. So yeah, it's just about planning a little bit, and also you could introduce love balls as well. I've got a very small pair of love balls here. These are the really hardest version, so I would not suggest wandering around with these in, but you can get bigger love balls. We sell loads of love balls at Shush, so if you want to have a little look on the website, and we can also link some too. These are the hardest versions, so these are heavy and small, so they're really hard to keep in. So you do not want to start with these, because you will find that you will be chasing your marbles around Tesco, and it's very hard to keep 2 meters away from people if you're trying to get your love balls back. This didn't happen to me, I promise. And so with the Ben Wa balls, or with whatever kind of love balls you're using, it's really great because you can kind of squeeze against them and you can wear them during the day, and this will just, as I say, help those erectile cylinders fill up and just help you to be able, when you're then able to have a little session on your own, you will be in the mood much quicker because you've sort of been warming up to it. And they are Benoit love balls. Lauren has just written that for us. Thank you so much, Lauren. Cool. I also had another thought about, and it's again kind of this erectile cylinder thing, so just helping them fill up with blood a little bit quicker, because it just makes it much easier for us to feel aroused when that happens. It's something like this, which is an arousal oil. Now this is one for the clitoris. This is very, very wonderful, this. You use it very sparingly, so just a drop. And this, it tastes a little bit like Christmas, if you ever try it, but you put it directly on your clitoris and it helps engorge the clitoris. So it helps bring blood to the area and makes your clitoris kind of whiz and buzz. In the same kind of vein, this is the G-spot version, and really great if you've never found your G-spot. Just pop a little bit of this on your G-spot, and again, it helps it swell up and helps it whiz and buzz a bit. And in the same vein, this hemp oil works really well. Basically, it gets your bits a little bit high, and so it just helps make them a little bit more susceptible to arousal and to stimulation as well. Cool, I hope that made sense, and good luck to all of you who are at home with kids. I hope it is all going very well. I'm sure it is a bit of a challenge. So we have question 4 this evening. So I'm super anxious at the moment and it's affecting my libido. I'm keeping super busy doing things to distract me, which is great, but I want to spend some time being present in my body and getting my libido back. Do you have any ideas? Again, a really beautiful question. I would say, it sounds a bit cliche, but meditation really can help. And you can also find like guided sex meditations as well, and guided masturbation meditations. Again, I've mentioned Lola Jean already tonight, but I think Lola Jean has a masturbation meditation, and that could be a really, really great way to kind of connect with your body in a really holistic way. Also, another thing that I like to do sometimes is body mapping. So you're not really touching your body particularly or necessarily in a sexual way, but you are sort of as if you were drawing your body but on your body, works like that. And so you're just really aware of all of the parts of your body. And this can be really erotic, and it can just make you feel really, really present in your body, and it's just a really, really lovely practice to do occasionally. And then my other thought was masturbating and feeling yourself, and but maybe with a rule that you can't orgasm, that's not on the cards, that's not what's going to happen in that session, or and so just feeling yourself playing in different ways and seeing how your body responds, but not focusing on that orgasm, but just getting to know your body, just being present with how it's reacting, rather than, again, trying to get to that target straight away. And like playing with other parts of your body, like what does it feel? How close to orgasm can you get if you just play with your nipples? Or you just play with your ears or something, or like put a vibrator underneath your ears. Playing with the sort of less expected places, maybe. Just some thoughts. Again, please feel free to add in if anyone else has any other thoughts. That was definitely not an exhaustive list. Cool, I'm going to crack on. So our 5th question this evening is, I'm having loads of fun dating online at the moment, good for you, and it's making me super horny, but I'm not having much luck getting the level of orgasm I usually get when I sleep with someone. How can I increase the intensity of my orgasm? So it's an interesting question. If I was chatting to you now, I would sort of want to know about what do you think it is about someone being in the room with you and someone doing the things to you that makes the orgasm more intense. It might be that it is just that someone desiring you, someone desiring you, someone finding you really sexy and enjoying your body that makes it more pleasurable. In which case, I would say, if you're having a lovely time dating online, try and bring it on video calls as well, and like have some sexy video calls if that is something that interests you. If that doesn't interest you so much, or maybe that makes you feel a little bit self-conscious, that is completely fine. I really struggle with video calls. I'm a sex educator, I talk about this stuff all the time, and yet I still struggle with that a little bit for some reason. Don't know why. So that's completely natural. But something that Orsa said the other day from a Q&A we did on Friday was to get a voice message, like a voice note from someone you're dating online or your partner. Get them to record a voice note and get them to, maybe they're talking dirty to you, or maybe they are saying something sexy to you, or sort of saying what they would do to you, or how great you look, or something like that, and just listen to it whilst you're masturbating. That might help sort of heighten those sensations again. But maybe it isn't about that kind of that being appreciated and just having someone there. Maybe it's about the physical way that someone else is doing to you. I suppose it's kind of that same thing of like, it's very hard to tickle ourselves. Like, we can't really do it because we're expecting it. So maybe it is just having someone else do things for you. Well, then I would suggest it's about the kind of toy that you use. So something like the We Vibe, which I've talked about on one of our Q&As before. So the We Vibe is an app-controlled sex toy. So you can clip this on to your vulva. So that part goes on the clitoris, that goes internally on the G-spot. And you clip it on, and it is a teledildonic, an app-controlled sex toy, which your partner, or then the person you're dating, although I'd say I'd be fairly careful with that one, but if you trust them, great. You can give them the app, and you can also block people from the We Vibe app as well. So if it does go tits up later on, you can just block them. It's fine. So then they can play with you on the app. You don't have to touch at all. It just clips on, so it will do its thing, and then they can control it with the app. So if it's just that like sort of added little bit of hands-free excitement, then that might really help. We also, as well, there is a wonderful toy, again, that I've talked about, called the Ruby Glow, which was made by the wonderful Tabitha Rain. And this could be great as well, because again, it's hands-free. So you're grinding on it rather than sort of touching yourself, which might be making the difference. I have one other theory, and that it might be, maybe it's about thrusting, like someone thrusting into you. And I have two thoughts for that one. And they are the Calexotics Luxe is a really, really great toy that you can kind of like suction on. I don't have that with me, but we will link it in the stories. And it kind of suctions on to the bath or to the shower or something like that, and has this amazing vibrate, and the more you push into it, the more it vibrates. It's really incredible. And also you're not touching, exactly, it's very coronas friendly, you're not touching even yourself. This is like gold star social distancing. And so that's the We Vibe Luxe. So you sort of, again, hands free, you can stick it to the shower wall or something like that. Or the other one I thought was the Stronic toy, which is again not a toy I have with me, but I will link it in the stories. And this is a thrusting toy, so it doesn't vibrate, it like thrusts like that. So again, maybe it's that action that is sort of like holding you back slightly from having the same orgasms that you have with someone you're sleeping with. So I hope that is useful information. As I say, please feel free to add in other tips as well. We love to hear them, or other questions, and I'll try and get around to them at the end. Amazing. So, question 6. I'm used to masturbating solo, just on my clit. How can I introduce a blended orgasm, dual orgasm, or even just a G-spot orgasm? So, I mean, the amazing rabbits are brilliant for dual orgasms. They do both. I'm going to show you a rabbit. This is the Eda Wave. This is the rabbit that I have with me, but there are lots of rabbits at Shush. I'd recommend lots of them. You can have a little look on the website. Remember that the code is virtual. I'm so proud of myself. I've mentioned the code like 3 times and I always forget. But there are loads of different rabbits, and they all do a fairly similar job. This one is quite amazing because it does the kind of juicing motion, if you can see that. So it has a little vibrator on the clitoris. This is for the clitoris. And then this is for the G-spot, and it does this amazing G-spot juicing motion, but also it does this incredible kind of clinching of your pubic bone as well. So it's a really, really great toy. The Inner Wave, that was the Inner Wave. But there are loads of amazing rabbits as well on the Shush website. And the whole point of rabbit toys, and they're very relevant because we're coming up to Easter, the whole point of them is to have that internal stimulation going on at the same time as clitoral stimulation, so you're working towards, or achieving maybe, the dual orgasm is the idea of that. If you're not so much into the idea of one toy doing both, that is absolutely fine. The combination that I mentioned earlier, glass toy for G-spot and little Satisfier Pro 2, works really, really well together. And what you can try playing with as well, if you are aiming to have more of a G-spot orgasm, if at the moment you're relying on clitoral orgasms and you want to see if you can have more internal orgasms, then a thing you can do is sort of juice the G-spot with that motion. Use a clitoral toy, maybe you're using the Satisfier, maybe it's a different one, maybe it's your fingers. Juice the G-spot and then take the clitoral toy away just before you orgasm. And what this does is it kind of tricks your orgasm to go through the G-spot. Then, the next session, or maybe right straight after, you then carry on juicing your G-spot with the toy and the clitoris, but then take the clitoral toy away a little bit earlier. So you keep on doing that, but take it away earlier each time, and this just tricks and trains your G-spot into having an orgasm through the G-spot. It takes forever, but I promise you it's worth it. And G-spot orgasms are really fun. They just feel slightly different, so it's fun to experiment with all the different orgasms you can have. You'll be amazed at what your body can do if you sort of play around and experiment in different ways. Because I think lots of us just get stuck in a habit or a couple of habits that we do, whereas it's really amazing to play around and see what else you enjoy. Yes, I also thought as well, like toys, I think some people worry about getting too reliant on toys, and I don't think that's so much of a thing, but more of, I think we get reliant on habits in general, of like, we're like, okay, so I do this thing where I take my finger and I do that thing, and then I put it on my labial lips like that, and then I around the clitoris like this. But actually, if you mix it up in different ways, like maybe one day you use a toy, maybe one day you don't, maybe you try something else with your fingers that day, then just sort of keeping your body guessing a little bit can be really helpful as well for that, for sort of changing what kind of orgasms your body is able to do. Have fun. I think you're in for a good time. Do some G-spot training. So the seventh question we have today is, how can I speed up how long it usually takes for me to reach orgasm? I feel so preoccupied and busy right now, keeping on top of work, kids, etc. I want a quickie. Completely understandable. It is a surprisingly hectic time being locked in. And I have to say, I have to come back to this amazing device. Suction toys are so quick. They are amazing. I gave this to a friend and they messaged saying, holy shit, 30 seconds. They are incredible. I think they've been the most popular toy that we've been selling this year, and it makes a lot of sense. They are incredible. You sort of need to play around with it for a little bit. I remember feeling quite like, oh, first time I used one. So sort of play around with it a little bit. If it feels a bit too intense at first, take it off, pop it maybe like lower down, maybe on a labial lip, something like that, and then pop it back on the clitoris and sort of see what it's like. It is quite an intense toy, but it is wonderful. Another toy that is a super quick, intense toy is the wand. Now, wands are plug-in toys, so this actually plugs into the mains. Again, both of these are quite noisy toys, but they are incredible and worth it. So just blast that music and it'll be fine. Or just, I don't know, pretend that you say, oh, I'm going to dry my hair, and then go upstairs and use this, it'll be fine. So this is a clitoral toy. Wands are clitoral toys. They are really intense clitoral toys. You can use this like just below your belly button and you will still feel the vibrations through it. It is a really, really intense toy, really amazing, and it will be very, very quick if you want it to. Both of these toys, because of their intensity, they have quite a high success rate for squirting as well, if that is something you are interested in, like squirting and ejaculation. Those toys seem to be really good good toys for that as well, if that takes your fancy. So our last question, Evie. We had lots of people saying that they fancy baths. Excellent, good, enjoy. Yes, this was the Doxy wand, Lauren has very rightly said. And this is the Satisfier Pro 2. Yeah, and our Satisfier's #1 choice for self-isolation. Very, very good. It's got some very, very noisy flats around. I'm proud of you all. And Lauren has very kindly reminded me even that we have a wireless shush wand as well if you don't want a plug-in one, and I think we have a one with a plug-in as well, so we have all of the options for you. We're taking care of you through this time, taking care of you. So my last question this evening was a really interesting question. So I feel like the porn I watch is pretty rough, and now softer things don't do it for me. How do I reverse? Such an interesting question. My first thought was maybe to sort of try and reframe your thinking with that a little bit of I think it's really easy if our psychosexual imagination enjoys something a bit rougher, it can be really easy to shame ourselves for that and make ourselves feel guilty for enjoying watching something that feels a little bit wrong or a little bit dirty, something like that, or like little Christian, or whatever the context is, whatever shame we had as a kid, that can come out sometimes. And in those times when you're watching what your psychosexual imagination wants to watch. So I'd say don't shame yourself for wanting to watch something rougher. I'd make sure it's really well-made, ethical porn, and that the performers in it and the makers are ethical makers and they want to be doing it and they're being paid well. I would suggest, I think I said this at the beginning, but pay for your porn is often, not always, it doesn't always mean that it will be ethical, but there is a much better chance that it will be good ethical porn. And there are lots of makers, which I will link again to the stories. Make Love Not Porn is a brilliant resource for that. There is a great thing called the Smart Girl's Guide to Porn, I think. Someone may need to correct me on the title of that. And there are lots of wonderful websites that are really, really ethical. Frolic Me is a brilliant website, really, really ethical, and there's so much pleasure that goes into the making of them and around them. There is a brilliant female porn maker who, the name I'm blanking on, but I think Lena Rose will be able to tell me. Whose name am I blanking on? Let me know. There are loads of amazing makers, lots of sort of femme and queer focused, very ethical makers. So as long as you are, Erica Lust is a very good shout as well, and then as long as you are confident in that, do not judge yourself for what you want to be watching. As long as it is a consensual event between adults, then brilliant, and enjoy that. If it's something that maybe you're not shaming yourself about, but still you just want to explore different ways of getting off and different ways of being able to arouse yourself, then I completely understand that as well. And so maybe it's about trying to watch porn in different ways, seeing what happens if you don't watch porn at all, and like how can you make yourself aroused then, if that is a bit of a rule, just for a week or so, and then see how you respond when you come back to it. Or maybe watch it in a different way in terms of, there's a brilliant website called Beautiful Agony. It's a French website, and it is, they're all amateur videos, and they're couples and people solo as well, and they're all filmed from the shoulders up. It's a little bit like me now. And you just see their reactions. And it's really gorgeous, and it feels very, very different to sort of more mainstream porn, but it feels really beautiful and really slow often, and there's something about that could be quite helpful because it is quite soft in a way, and so maybe just like a more lateral porn website, if that makes sense, something like that. Or the one I just mentioned was called Beautiful Agony, if that's what you were asking. Or let me know if it was another one you want to know the name of. And so just kind of maybe coming at porn from a lateral angle for a little bit, experimenting, see how you react to these different styles of watching it. Or seek out something with that roughness that you enjoy, but maybe in an erotica form. So maybe it's written, as opposed to watched. Maybe that will sort of give you that need, give you that your psychosexual imagination what it wants, but in a slightly different form to kind of, I suppose, again, it's that same thing. It's like getting out of those habits and sort of challenging our bodies and challenging our brains to sort of enjoy the journey of sex, enjoy the whole thing, as opposed to just like, how do I get myself off? Let's do this, which is important sometimes as well. But it's nice to have a little bit of both to get to know the potential of our bodies. I hope that makes sense. That is the end. Oh, I thought there was more questions. Oh, I feel sad. I've just been rabbiting on into the screen and having a lovely time. So I hope you have as well. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I've had a really, really lovely time. This will be saved on our story, so if you missed the beginning of it or anything, please feel free to come back and watch the beginning of it if you want to. And thank you so much for joining me. I am Evie Fehilly. We are the wonderful Shush. As I said before, the code for anything you want to buy is virtual on the website. Go and have a look. We have loads of amazing stuff. We will link to our stories, all of the toys I talked about and everything. I've had such a lovely time answering all your questions. Please let me know if there are any other questions. You can write to us, you can DM Shush, or you can DM me, Evie Fehilly, and we will get round to answering your questions on another Q&A. On Friday we have the wonderful Becky from the Anti-Diet Riot Club, and I'm so excited about that. It's going to be a really amazing session. I think it'll be really, really liberating and wonderful, and so please join us for that. Other than that, thank you very much. Lauren Steele, you're saying my name. Yes, virtual for discount. We're writing that down here. Thank you so much for joining. I've had a lovely time. See you soon. Bye.